Can you disrupt your opponent's pawn structure in any way? Or is there already a weakness? Always be on the lookout for tactical targets. Simple patterns and easy to grasp concepts make a lot of sense. This is the position we arrived at after White's move number 9, pawn to c3. What is White's plan in this position? In this opening, both sides will develop the bishops outside of the pawn chain. From Black's perspective, the idea is to attack and pressure the pawn on f2. Pay attention to Black's pawn structure. Based on the information given, wants to develop the other bishop and the queen, and also control the d5 square, while Black's dark square bishop pressures the f2 pawn. Black's plan of attack unfolds as he applies extreme pressure on White's king side. In that position, Black won because he utilized the strategy called posting up. So what exactly is posting up? Well, using war terminology, here's a list. Explained by international chess master Larry.
Posting up falls under the category of defensive operation. It mainly pertains to knight posts, although it can pertain to other pieces as well. For instance, Black's knight post on the e4 square. What are you trying to achieve by creating a post? By creating a post, you want to do the following. Well, first you want to defeat an enemy attack, and also, buy time, economize forces, which means to get your pieces placed on the most active squares possible. The whole idea of taking such defensive measures is to create a counter-offensive.
First, this game starts off with White invading the Black army, which means that Black must take defensive measures and go on the counter-offensive. Notice how the queen and the bishop attack White's king side. The G file is now half open. Let's do a brief evaluation of the position. White's king is very vulnerable. The f2 pawn is overwhelmingly pressured by at least 4 pieces. The h file and the c file. And Black's pieces are perfectly placed on the f file, the h file, and the g1 to a7 diagonal. And it's curtains for White. Welcome to Skillful Defense. Now I'm going to show you some game examples where both sides demonstrate skillful defense. However, it will be presented by International Chess Master Larry.
If you want to see substantial improvement very fast, take note. I'm going to walk you through the basics of defensive operations. Let's consider this endgame position for example. We're going to look at this from White's perspective. You can tell just by looking at the board where your counter chances are. Your counter chances is on the king side, where you have the pawn. The king is also active in blockading Black's pawn. Now, this brings us to the discussion of the endgame plan. what is white's endgame plan. While going on the offense is the most decisive action to take, the defense is the stronger type. For instance, the first step in choosing a defense is to try and identify probable enemy objectives. Although black having the two bishops was at an advantage in the endgame, however, in this position, black is at a disadvantage, simply because the bishop on d7 is a bad bishop, blocked by its own pawns. So the best that black has is to try and save at least a couple of pawns and try to go into an endgame where you have opposite colored bishops.
Okay, thank you very much, International Chess Master Larry. And now we will conclude this video with this last game example. So listen closely while the Joker give us a brief lecture.
When you try to make your minor piece superior to your opponent's minor piece, it's called a minor piece imbalance. You have a spatial advantage, which is an imbalance that leaves the opponent's pieces gasping for air. Then, there is an imbalance in the board's pawn skeleton.
And now white puts the question to black's dark square bishop. Now instead of capturing the bishop captures the knight. And now we have an opposite color bishop's endgame, but white plays a positional masterpiece in the endgame. Keep in mind that all opposite colored bishop endgames are not drawish. And white finds a way to march the pawns up and will eventually promote a pawn to queen. So how exactly does white win this game? Well, first, you have to look at the possibilities that black has. What is black likely to do with a light square bishop and a king? Certainly, the main objective for black is to try and stop your king side pawns. So the smart thing to do is to get your king over to the side where the pawns are. The king is very valuable here in the endgame. The king guards the pawns and you just start marching the pawns. The pawns will cover the light and dark squares while the bishop on e3 covers the dark squares, denying the opponent's king access. And continuing to push the pawns up the board, now the king defends the pawn. Another feature of endgame play is the more advanced king. And in this game, white's king is more advanced, while black's king sits on the back rank. Okay, International Chess Master Larry, are there any final thoughts?
Remember that attack and defense is more effective when there is adequate time to thoroughly plan and prepare defensive positions.
Okay, that is all I have for now. Thank you, and please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And stay tuned.